Coming up in the news, millions of dollars invested in the new reverse osmosis water facility. Also, some good news for Valeria cruise passengers. And a robust investigation underway at the Ministry of Education and the AVP for the BUT weighing in. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Shashina Wolf-Farquharson. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping news, the Grand Bahama Utility Company announcing that construction of its new reverse osmosis water facility is underway. The 3 million gallon reverse osmosis plant represents a $5 million investment. Jamila Missick has our top story.
Director of Operations at the Grand Bahama Utility Company, Filcher Grant, says after months of extensive hydrogeological surveys, planning and design, they are delighted that this significant step in GBUC's long-term storm hardening plan is now underway. The contract for the construction and commissioning of the reverse osmosis facility was awarded to Bahamas Hot Mix, which brings extensive experience in reverse osmosis systems and the treatment of brackish water to deliver reliable, cost-effective clean water. Grant outlining that the $5 million injection will provide consistent water quality meeting World Health Organization standards, providing the resilient and storm-hardened system necessary for climate change and future storms. She notes that these investments will not only restore water potability to customers across Grand Bahama, but ensure Grand Bahamians will never again be without potable water for a prolonged period. The release also noting that they are seeing increased operating costs at Grand Bahama Utility, as well as managing the cost of this significant capital program, but they know how challenging it has been for customers, and they are pleased to be able to continue to absorb the financial impacts of the discount and drinking water stations for the benefit of those customers, adding that they have used their experience gained out of tragedy as a catalyst for dynamic transformation. Now, the release noting that unprecedented damage was brought on the utility, particularly when Wellfield 6, which serviced 60% of the island, suffered a catastrophic impact in September 2019. The pumping station and well fields were inundated with a 20-foot surge of seawater for over 18 hours. This has had a long-term salinity impact on that freshwater aquifer. Since Hurricane Dorian, the GBUC team has continued to work tirelessly to restore potability island-wide. In July of 2020, the company announced the return of potability to 70% of the island, bringing much-needed relief to many residents. Now, GBUC confirms that it will maintain the current 25% discount for customers without potable water and continue to provide free drinking water to non-potable areas, the cost of which will be borne by the utility. As part of its modernization plan, GBUC has committed to SCADA automation, digitized well monitoring, reserve power supply improvements, as well as pipe, valve, and meter replacement programs. Jamila Missick, ZNS Network News.
Well, East Grand Bahama is seeing signs of recovery from Hurricane Dorian that ravaged this northern island a little over a year ago. The Member of Parliament for the area says that it is indeed encouraging. However, there is still much more work to be done. Ramiko Knowles reports.
Work to restore the roadway in East Grand Bahama has been undertaken and is almost complete. Area Member of Parliament K. Peter Turnquest says the state of the road has been a concern for residents living in the area and has been a hindrance to development. But he says he is pleased with the progress.
At the moment, recently had an assessment done of all of the infrastructure needs in the East End, not the least of which is the clinic, and so we're very happy in the High Rock area to see the advancement of the reconstruction of a new clinic in High Rock that will service the areas from Gold Rock Creek certainly into High Rock, as well as the restoration of the clinic in McLeanstown that will service the Rocky Creek, McLeanstown, and at the moment the Sweetings Key communities.
In a matter of days, he says it is anticipated that the Public Health Authority will be taking a look at the clinic in Sweetings Key.
hopefully through the Public Health Authority, as well as some of the NGOs that have expressed interest, we'll be able to get that clinic up and going and return the nurse to the island shortly. Of course, that is vitally important because getting persons from the Key to the mainland is not an easy feat for the government and for the residents, and so we do need that clinic up and going on the Key to service residents, particularly our elderly residents, as they return to the island, courtesy of another NGO.
Turnquest adds that they are looking at buildings owned by the government in East Grand Bahama that can be repurposed.
Since the Ministry of Education has announced previously that they're building a comprehensive school, those of us from the old school would call it an all-age school, in the High Rock area that is going to service the complete East End communities, not only as a school but also as a hurricane shelter. You may know that whenever there's a threatened hurricane, those residents have to come up to Maurice Moore School to shelter, which is inconvenient. And because of some of the features of the roadways, getting back into the community is sometimes difficult.
He admits that restoring the lives of residents in East Grand Bahama has been a challenge, but he is happy to advise that the Disaster Reconstruction Authority has indicated that the temporary dorm homes made available to residents of the area will be deployed.
Within the next couple of weeks, I'm advised that funding has been just recently made available for that to happen, and so hopefully we'll be able to get some of our displaced residents back into the community with temporary homes while they work on completing their permanent homes.
Turnquest says that it has been a tedious process as a result of all that is taking place throughout the country, but he says Bahamians can remain confident that they are working to recover the economy, expand it, and to introduce new opportunities. Ramiko Knowles, ZNS Network News.
In other news, the Ministry of Education launching an investigation into claims of sexual misconduct at the Jack Hayward High School. This week, a public school teacher was hauled before the court to face criminal charges. This coming after a student filed charges accusing him of inappropriate conduct. Tonight, the area vice president of the Bahamas Union of Teachers says he is confident that the Ministry of Education will do its part to ensure that a thorough investigation is conducted and any culpable persons be held responsible. Area Vice President of the Bahamas Union of Teachers, Quentin LaRota, is confident that the allegations that purport years of sexual misconduct by a teacher at Jack Hayward High School will be thoroughly investigated by officials of the Ministry of Education. Concerns continue to mount as many question whether or not matters reported went through the proper protocol, while some on social media have called for the administration at the school to be held accountable. Union officials at the school contend that the guidance counselors and the teachers followed the right process in this matter. Here's what LaRota had to say.
What typically happens is a teacher would report a matter to guidance. If reported to them, guidance would report it to the administration. Administration would deal with the situation, and the teacher or the guidance counselor can only assume that what needed to happen took place once it was put in the administrator's hand. I know sometimes administrators would pass reports up the chain to the superintendent.
And while the student made it clear that it was a teacher who encouraged her to go to the office to report the allegation in this latest incident, a student from the past, along with her mother, say their matter was never forwarded to social services or the police after meeting with administration.
The law requires that any report of abuse is reported to the police, and the assumption is that that would be taken care of by someone in management.
Now, sources say the administration at Jack Hayward High School did, in fact, turn that matter over to a senior person at the Ministry of Education. However, they say nothing was done. And while not speaking to this incident, LaRota says that it is very important to ensure that thorough investigations are conducted because there are times when teachers are falsely accused.
We want to make sure that anyone who hurts a child suffers a consequence, but we also want to ensure that someone who's innocently accused does not suffer irreparable damage.
This is his advice to teachers.
There is a scripture that says, avoid the very appearance of evil. And so for my fellow educators, don't put anything, don't communicate the student in any way that could be construed or misconstrued as a sexual advance or some inappropriate language.
But he says the public can rest assured that the Ministry of Education has commenced a robust investigation into these allegations.
Part of the procedure, those individuals who need to be investigated are placed on administrative leave during the investigation if it's required, if it goes to that extent. And so I'm not a part of the ministry investigation team. In fact, I'm the opposite. I'm union. Even though the public is clamoring for action and pressuring, and I understand that, anybody aware of the situation, that would be their natural and human response. However, the investigators must focus on the facts.
Some good news on the horizon for cruise ferries doing business in the Bahamas. You may recall just last week, U.S. President Biden announced that effective January 26, all international passengers will have to show proof of a negative PCR or antigen test before entering the country. That announcement viewed as a devastating blow to the tourism economy. But tonight there is some positive news regarding that.
Owner of Jags International and representative for the Balearic Caribbean, James Turner, says the company has been advised that the requirement to have a negative PCR or antigen test when arriving in the United States does not apply to passengers traveling on the Balearia. Turner is elated about this exemption and says he believes this will encourage more passengers to travel throughout the northern Bahamas.
Because whether you're a Bahamian or a visitor and you're traveling on Balearia, you do not require to take the COVID test and to be negative before you can leave the Bahamas. This is going to be wonderful because it allows us to begin restoring the day-only passengers. They can leave Florida. They will obviously have to have a negative coming into the Bahamas, but they can go back home the very same day without the obstruction of having to go and take an additional test.
Turner says the company also received approval to provide passenger service between Bimini and Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
The Bimini route we're likely to start on the 9th of next month. Of course, Freeport will start on the 7th.
Now, while Balearia's cargo service will recommence on the 7th of February, passenger service will begin on Thursday, February 11th for Freeport. But Turner says the news is a breath of fresh air.
Almost a year of dealing with COVID setbacks, this is the first real opportunity for Grand Bahama and Bimini to get back into the tourism game. As everybody would know, Nassau it's filled with air. But Grand Bahama and Bimini are very disadvantaged when you look at air. The ferry service is really their only advantage. And now with the new rules and regulations, it's relaxed a bit. So it allows them to get back into the tourism game. It allows our people to get back to employment. It just causes so many things to begin to take a positive outlook. So we have to restructure what we're doing and get focused on moving forward.
It's Halia Hall, ZNS Network News.
Tonight, the Member of Parliament for the East End community is weighing in on the possibilities in the lucrative ecotourism industry. He says over the years he has seen great potential for the area, adding that plans are in the works to provide opportunities for residents, and he's encouraging Grand Bahamians, East Enders in particular, to take advantage of them. Italia Hall reports.
Member of Parliament for East Grand Bahama, Peter Turnquist, says the bone fishing business alone is valued at some $141 million per year around the country. He says that means that there's tremendous potential in the ecotourism industry.
East Grand Bahama in particular is a pristine environment that is very much open and ripe for development. We have been trying to encourage Bahamians in particular to look at opening low-density type boutique resorts or accommodations that would attract those types of persons to the area. Once we can get them to the area, then it opens up a whole world of opportunities for other entrepreneurs to take advantage of that pristine environment that we have.
He says it is his hope that more accommodations will become available in the East Grand Bahama community, as many were destroyed during Hurricane Dorian.
Fortunately, North Riding Point, Bonefish Lodge, is reopened, and they've been seeing some activity. And the East End Lodge in McLeanstown is in the process of being rebuilt. and they're trying to expand, which is a wonderful development for East End particularly.
He says there are a lot of activities that tourists can take part in.
It's deep sea fishing, whether it's snorkeling. We have a beautiful area in East Grand Bahama that I never knew existed until a couple of years ago, where they call it Thrift Harbor, and it's a wonderful area for drift diving. The coral there is so vivid. I mean, it's the most amazing thing I've ever seen, and I really would like to see us be able to take advantage of that natural feature.
The Member of Parliament says Grand Bahamians must explore the opportunities that are available.
We've had some talks with the Development Bank, who are going to do a site tour hopefully next week, where they want to look at the opportunities that exist so that they can help to promote and hopefully to finance persons who may be interested in this type of enterprise.
He says it is imperative that Grand Bahamians come up with alternative ways to generate income.
We've seen, as a result of the pandemic, the vulnerability of tourism. We've seen, as a result of all of the changing regulations from the Europeans, the vulnerability of our financial services sector. We need to figure out how we're going to create some indigenous income that is not as sensitive to these external influences.
Italia Hall, ZNS Network News.
Stay with us. We'll be back in just a moment.